you ready, kids?
Aye, Captain!
I can't hear you!
Ahoy there, mateys. It's time to set sail on another episode of Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast. I'm your captain, Jimbob Ogleshorts. And tonight, I have a cool guest coming on for you guys, man. Bandit found this fella for me over there on TikTok, and I followed him back and did a whole bunch of research. And the guy's name is Syran or you guys know I'm terrible at names, so we'll hopefully get a correction when we get the show going. But man, I want to say it's Syran. And man, this dude's pretty awesome, pretty wild for as far as like investigative people that I've found. He's an investigative journalist, man, and he specializes in only investigating cults and things about cults. And man, he is just full of some interesting facts and knowledge, and kind of comical along the way too, man. Like thumbing through all of his TikToks and his Instagram and stuff, you get a good snicker and stuff, especially if you got a good sense of humor. And I've enjoyed checking him out for the past week or so, and I'm glad to finally be speaking with him. So Bandit, of course, will be with me this evening, like I was saying, and he is, he's I think this is gonna be a good conversation, you guys. Like, we have a lot of interesting conversations as it is, so only thing I can keep doing is just having more interesting conversations. I don't know. Dry humor. Maybe I'm trying to set the stage for this evening. I don't even know yet, but we'll get into it. But anything we do talk about tonight and stuff, you guys will be able to find over at your favorite website online that you guys do your thing with. That is unconstitutionalawakening.com. You're home for everything us, man. And we really appreciate all y'all coming in and out of the website, man, interacting with us. All the folks out there interacting with us across the apps and everywhere we're streamed. So the numbers keep climbing and stuff like that, and it's awesome to see. So we definitely appreciate it. And if you ever got any questions, concerns, comments, man, just reach out, man. Somebody will definitely answer you, most likely me. So like, keep it going, man. We appreciate it. While you're hanging out over there on the website to do things like check out stuff from all the other hosts, or going to find the host, your favorite host social media page and stuff, you can also do things like find out which channels to watch us on, man. We got a bunch of different channels you can watch us on. Not all the episodes end up on YouTube, but I try to get a few on there. So, if that's your route, go check them out, man. You can also find the places to listen to us if all you do is watch us. So maybe you need to throw me in your pocket or listen to me in your earbuds or something, man. But I got it hooked up to where you can do all of it, man. And the numbers keep growing. These aren't even all the apps that we're available on. So, and we keep growing because you guys keep loving it. So, hey, it's a win-win, I guess. As well as you can check out to just listen to the show while you're hanging out there. You can also get over there and check out the merch store, man. Get yourself something nice. Gift yourself something cool, because it goes to a good cause. And that cause is keeping this show going. You can also check out our friends in Liberty, man. Kirk Elliott, Peachy Key Creations, Ammo Can Survival, Brett Pike with Classical Learner and Homeschools Connected, and Pure Pet Wellness. Make sure you use the codes located down there in the links, man, because it'll get yourself a nice little nice little discount on all the things across, man. So make sure you're checking that stuff out. Because I greatly appreciate it. The rest of the show greatly appreciates it. So, hey, man, we just trying to do the thing here because you guys keep wanting us to put out more, so we keep putting out more. But I'm going to shut up and let's get into this conversation because I am really excited to finally get to talk to Syran. So let's hit it. And good evening, everyone. As I was saying, I have. How do you say it, man? I don't want to butcher it. Is it Syran?
My name is Syran Warner.
Syran Warner. See, I knew I would butcher it. This is a common thing that goes around here with me. It
happens all the time.
Is me butchering things.
Syran or Soren or I get a lot of stuff.
So, but Bandit here actually found you on TikTok for me and was like, "Dude, you've got to talk to this guy." And I was just like, "Well, this is it." You know, and I started digging through your TikTok and I was just like, this guy has got an interesting angle here. He investigates cults, and I am so glad
because we had a guy on here. The name slips me. Where
William
we
Ramsey.
spent where we talked the whole night about the smiley face killings.
Yeah, it was.
Are you familiar with the smiley face killings?
This is like the smiley face killer.
Okay, it's sort of like the movie thing that William Ramsey will tell you is like kind of is one of those things that was kind of created to, you know, I guess in the conspiracy realm of things to divert attention from the truth thing. But this William Ramsey guy and another fellow that I follow have been on Twitter. They spent a lot of time investigating what seems like a spree of nationwide cult killings that have, you know, like similar victims found in similar ways, and it seems like a ritualistic thing. And like he's done a lot of investigative work into this himself, and like it was a very captivating thing. And you know, I've always found an interest in cults, and the more I kept reading into your work over there, the more I was like, I actually can't wait to get him over here because I don't think I know very many people that investigate cults. Like that's a task and a half, I think.
I think I'm probably the only person who does what I do with cults, because it's very deep investigative reporting, and you know, I'm trying to like fuck these groups up. Like I'm trying to goal is to take down the cult.
Because I think I've seen a couple of women on TikTok that have made it their like life's ambition to take down cults that sexualize women.
Mm-hmm. No, there's a lot of people who are in this, like, I mean, there's a huge community of like the anti-cult community. I guess, like, I mean, I just don't have like a real job anymore. Like, this is my job. But I definitely
there is nothing wrong with that. Don't let anybody ever tell you there's anything wrong with that, because there's not. I think you have you have like a dream job for a lot of people, especially like kind of I have a fetch.
Yeah, it's really surprising. Like, everybody thought I lost my mind when I started doing this. And now, like, you know, I just like, yeah, my manager just like pays for like whatever. I don't know. Like, this is like full time. I mean, I do work like insane hours, and I don't take weekends off or anything. Like,
so what spurred your interest in cults?
Well, I had no interest in cults, and I didn't even really know what a cult was. But I worked for a alt weekly, like I wrote articles, mostly like culture articles, for this paper. And at a certain in 2016, I heard a story that was a homicide story, like a crime story about somebody that was local, that I had known, who was murdered in Alaska. And the case was just so bizarre. And there were like, I don't know, I started following that case. I pitched it to the editor at the paper, and I was like, hey, you know I don't write features, and I don't do like crime stories, but like I have to write this story. And that turned into, like, after I sold that, it was just this odyssey that I was on for 3 years. You know, I went through Alaska. I interviewed so many people, and in this process, I had this source that I talked to all the time. I probably interviewed this woman 30 times. Wow. And it turned out she was in this cult called The Body. And it was really weird because she was a reporter, and she was using the cult was using her position as a reporter to like do some damage, as you can imagine, like a situation like that. So it was a very strange introduction. I didn't even believe that story at first, but I talked to somebody else, so I kept working on it. And I found a reporter who almost broke the story of The Body in 2015. And she had all these old interviews and court records. And, you know, when I got her records, it was like indisputable that like this weird thing was like it was a true story, and it was undeniable. I sort of tinkered with it. I looked on the internet. I didn't, you know, it was like important to the story because of like, I mean, it's really complicated because you'd have to go into this, it's this story, the murder story is like so complicated, but basically, like, she was in love with, no, not in love with, God, I'm like, I don't want to say that. She had like an inappropriate relationship with this guy who was the murderer in that case. And she was pulling strings for him and getting politicians involved that she had through her radio job, because she was a news director. And Alaska is like a different kind of place. Like there's 700,000 people in the whole state. Like it's possible to have like influence with a politician. And there was the thing that was weird is like, I knew this. I knew it for sure because like she told me what she was doing. And there's no reason for her to lie about that. But I never had any clue like why she would do it. Like it didn't make any sense for her. Like the guy's family was rich, that was true. But I guess I thought that they had like some romantic thing or something. And, you know, you hear about that every, you know, once in a while. But that's not the case. Like she was the cult wanted the family of this guy in, like, they wanted them, like, because they, on this peninsula, they're powerful people. And they did some outrageous things for this guy. He committed an insane, I've seen the crime scene photos, like this guy committed murder one, like undeniably. Damn. And he ended up serving like 2.5 years in prison, and it was just a joke. Like a case was a joke. And it's still like unknown, like how much influence this cult journalist lady like had in that, because she was talking to the DA, she was talking to the DA's boss. She got this guy John Skidmore. She had a politician visit this guy before he was sentenced, and like it's just so fucked up because to imagine this, a state senator visited this guy who, like, if he would have seen the crime scene, if he would have known what this guy did, like he never would have done that. Like this woman just had that influence to, I don't know. It's a wild story, I guess.
To manipulate. No, I do have your website, and of course, I do make it a thing to make sure I share links about things we end up talking about in the evening, and links to get back to like your work and stuff like that. And I have spent, especially the past week, going over a lot of the stuff that you got on your, the body website over there and stuff. And I mean, it's fascinating and jaw-dropping, like that this kind of stuff goes on, and you hear about cults every now and then, but like it seems to be a progressively more common thing, I think, than people realize in general. Like, not, you've got this big one like the one you've been looking into, and other people have obviously looked into, the body, but like it, when I first started hanging out on like TikTok, man, there were quite a few cults trying to recruit hanging up on there, like just even like small level type stuff. But like it's just, you see people dealing in this aspect of kind of things, and you're just like, whoa, like, what drives you to want to be in a cult? And so I actually had a couple, I guess, interesting questions that throughout the evening I was probably going to be asking you. And one of them was like, when it comes to things like cults, like what is a common myth that you've seen that's portrayed with this, since you've kind of
What's a
studied
common
it?
myth?
Yeah.
But there's one that sticks out right away, which is like a lot of people. I mean, I get this comment on like every video I put out, especially like this. I'm covering this like UFO cult right now, and this woman says crazy stuff. Like I put it on. I have no problem putting the insane stuff that she says out on the internet, but the comment that comes up all the time is like, what kind of moron would fall for this cult? Like, how could you be so stupid? And the reality is, like, if you're asking that question, like, you are the kind of moron who would fall for a cult, because the only way to avoid falling for a cult is to kind of know what the signs are and to know what a cult is. And if you knew what a cult was, you'd know it wasn't morons. Like morons, there are morons who slip through the system and become cult members. But the reality is, like, if you're a cult leader, like, you don't want morons. Like you want productive people. You want idealists.
And usually they're a cult leader in general. They're usually very charismatic in the way that they carry themselves. I've seen
I mean,
that.
you gotta have some like power upstairs to be a cult leader. You can't. I mean, it sometimes it happens in like a lot of cults sort of happen in families. That's probably the most common situation, or abusive relationships, something like, well, I don't know, that there's a huge correlation between just like controlling relationships and cults.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you can have morons that are doing it, but it's definitely not the most often. And I would say, like, even this woman who like says I'm always dunking on the ridiculous things she says.
Yeah.
But I spend so much time watching her videos that I can tell you, like, she's got control. She knows what she's doing. She's like, when she also like gets very stoned before she does these videos. So a lot of the weird paths she goes down, like, I don't know, I recognize, like, been there before. But she's not a moron. She's not an idiot. If she was an idiot, like, she wouldn't have like $1 million in a year. She went from a trailer park to this $1.3 million ranch real quick.
And so sure, these charismatic people, the way that they carry themselves and speak the right things, I personally wouldn't think that they go after dumb people. I think they would go after vulnerable people.
People. That's not to say that people aren't vulnerable, because, but I mean, I really think, and this is what like a sociologist would tell you, is that like the number one trait that you find in people who join cults is idealism. And it's like cults will always be around. Like, I'll never go out of business because, like, there was always going to be another cult story. It's a bug in humanity, because human beings are always looking for answers. People are always looking for purpose, and there are like psychopaths among us who are able to exploit that human need in outrageous ways. Like, I mean, cults are responsible for, I mean, look at like your two biggest tragedies in American history, 9/11, like, look at what was going on there. Like, that's a cult story. Second largest loss of life and of Americans that's Jonestown, largest. That's a cult story too. Not to give the impression that like if you join a cult like you're really at risk of like murder or murdering somebody, because you're not.
Yeah, sure.
That's like very rare, but things can get so out of hand when you have a psychopath at the helm. And the only people who start cults are psychopaths, because like I know enough now that if I really wanted to control somebody, I think I could probably influence them, but I have no interest in controlling people. It seems exhausting. Like you have to do it all the time. Like a cult leader never gets to turn off. You don't have like some private world where you can be you don't have a natural self. Like the kind of person who wants to control people is the kind of person who can just stay on like all the time, and we're never going to get rid of like that kind of person.
Sure. What is there anything that you wish you had known prior to starting like this journey that you've kind of figured out along the way?
There's a lot of stuff. I mean, I always wish I I really came into this knowing nothing. I knew I had a bunch of information, I had a bunch of leads, and that there was a story. And when I started looking into the story, like things were bad. Like I was on the phone with law enforcement. I'm sort of famous for my one of my calls to the FBI. Like it was a bad situation, and the more I was learning about it, like I really did a deep dive. I started talking to experts. I was reading books. I had worked on a magazine story about cults when like QAnon was exploding. That was like sort of a QAnon focused cult story. And from sourcing that and doing research, but I always wish that I would have had an interest in this stuff sooner. I could have said something about this cult in 2017 or 2018. I knew what was going on was bad, but I didn't know enough about I didn't have the full context to know how bad it was. And I guess I just had I guess I would have just known more about. I mean, I to be honest, I thought some of these people in these tapes were just lying, or exaggerating, or trying to smear somebody or whatever. Because it seemed like what they were saying was so extreme, and they had been discredited by local people. I wish I would have known that cults blackmail fucking everybody who walks out the door. So, don't believe everything you hear about former members.
Sure.
I wish I would have known that.
Oh.
So, at any given time, have you felt like your life was in serious danger?
No, some scary stuff has happened. These people are unpredictable, and I state what I'm trying to do pretty clearly. So. I definitely have conflict with cults, and they've sent people after me. I mean, the creepiest thing was that I think it was August. I had gone to this place in rural Washington where this cult compound was, and I left a letter in the mailbox. That was really funny. It was. It said you're all I think about here in Tonasket, and then I wrote a Bible verse in it, and XO Syran. And they didn't like that. They first they called the cops, and then there was a guy in a van who would follow me to and from work, and it was real creepy. It was one of these things. I started telling people about it, and they're like, "You're making it up." You're just paranoid. You're too paranoid. You're going down this thing. And then the guy started when he would stop, and I would get out of my car and go in to do whatever or go to my girlfriend's house or whatever. He'd honk the horn and wave at me. Like just so you know, like I'm here. Like I obviously know he's here, but he wants to like reinforce it. And then yeah, the last time I saw that guy, he stopped in the middle of the road and he walked up to me with an envelope, as if he was like serving me, like, you know, here's a cease and desist or whatever. And I was on the phone and I walked inside and locked the door and just watched him from my window and my heart was racing. But he got in a van, drove off, and like everything just stopped after that. He never he just went away.
Huh. That's actually pretty wild. Like, you know, I mean, I could see where that would be definitely blood pressure rising and stuff. Because yeah,
I think he was just like a cheap PI, like in reality.
Well, with studying this stuff, you know, and you know, you keep making mention that like people's stories get discredited and stuff like that, you know, and people get blackmailed and such. But like, you know, even like with your story and stuff too, you know, sometimes I can see that these stories seem super outlandish. So seeing as all the stuff that you've looked into and come across yourself, I guess that's given you a different perspective now when you hear some of these, you know, kind of wild stories coming out of people that have gotten out of some of these cults then, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I made up the story, if I was like a fiction writer or a sci-fi writer or something, and I wrote this like a synopsis of the cult I'm researching now, Profundity Yours, like the editor would look at it and say like, this is just like so like no, we cannot publish this. It's too on the nose. Like nobody is going to be invested in this because it doesn't seem real. I mean, there's there's Snoopy, the cosmic dog, in this story. Like, there's so much ridiculous. I don't know.
No, I
couldn't make it up.
I could see that, you know, and there's that aspect of that. You know, I talk to people from all over the spectrum of interesting type people. You know, I've had people on here that have told me that they talk to fairies. I've had people on here that told me they talk to Bigfoot. I've, you know, talked to UFO folks and ancient history folks and, you know, a variety of different kind of people throughout the past year and so on this show. And you know, I took an interest in some of the kind of like more culty, I guess, type things after talking to William Ramsey and some other guys and stuff about, you know, like different cult type murders. And that seems, you know, I guess not the murders and or suicides, you know, seem to be something that ends up going a little hand in hand with a lot of this. And in some cases, you know, like somebody crosses the leader of the cult the wrong way and you know it ends up in something wrong, or this cult eventually leads to a John Jones kind of situation where
I mean,
you know, everybody drinks the Kool-Aid, you know what I mean? And
yeah, I mean that's like the thing, that's one thing about cults that makes them so, like, these stories so interesting, and people are fascinated with. I mean, this is people looking for more cult material coming on Netflix for the next 50 years. Like I think these stories like are just going to keep popping up. But
I guess that's the best thing you can do in these situations is bringing attention to, you know, this kind of behavior.
And let people know. Yeah, there's a lot of things, but I think the element, like, just as like a journalist, like I do have like a lot of relationships with like cult survivors, and you know, I talk to these people all the time. I definitely have like I don't know, like a real investment in what I do. But as like a journalist or a storyteller, like this stuff is fucking crazy. Like the real elements that like you can have in a cult situation is that like anything is possible. Things that don't seem like they could ever happen with cults. I mean, like I like, if you like Heaven's Gate, like these guys, when sometimes I talk to people who don't believe in brainwashing, or they're like, mind control is fake. And I generally will just go to, like, you remember Heaven's Gate? Like
Right.
Those guys were doing surgery on themselves, like in their house on like a kitchen table. They were castrating themselves. And they were like, they were so excited about it, they had to flip a coin to see who went first.
Well,
Like
and
anything's possible.
when it comes to brainwashing, I've talked about that quite frequently on this show and stuff. We bring up MK Ultra a lot, and you know, some of the initial steps in a lot of that MK Ultra stuff, like CIA rule number one when it comes to brainwashing is trauma. And that seems to be something that definitely goes hand in hand with a lot of these. This is what I was kind of saying earlier is, they look for vulnerable people, not so much dumb people, but if you've just been through something traumatic and
Yeah, I mean, a
trauma.
lot of people have like just gone through a divorce. They've
Yeah.
moved somewhere new, going to going to college for the first time. Like those are the people. Like breakups, like anytime that you're like a death of a parent, like you're searching for answers, and there's somebody that says like, not only do I have like the answers, like I've got like the only answer.
They always seem to rear their head up at just the right time in some of those situations. I truly believe that the people that I guess are like the leaders of stuff like this, or even people that are out there recruiting in a sense, they have to know like what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like they've got to have a certain level of
So, I mean, in a
intelligence in
way,
their head.
but your critical thinking skills aren't really working if you've been brainwashed.
Sure.
And you've like heard like the justification. Like you might be doing something that like you kind of know is wrong, but like it's for Jesus. Like it's like this is like this is going to help the mission to save souls from eternal damnation or something like that.
So what how do you like do you I feel there's a very thin line in the world of religion and the world of cults.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of crossover.
Like there's a lot of things in there that you see, practiced in a lot of mainstream religions on almost every aspect, whether it be Christianity, Judaism, Muslim, just things that some people might not agree with or whatever, but then like it's not okay when when a cult's doing it. And to me, like I'm just like, well, maybe it's not okay across the board in some cases. Like I just find it interesting that there is such a thin line there. I don't know. That's just one of
Well,
those
and
things that's always
it's interesting
fascinated
too
me too.
because there's a lot of cults are not religious. Like
Yeah.
there's there or the religion is sort of like blended into the system, or there are cults too who like aren't religious but pretend to be religious so they don't have to pay taxes, like Scientology.
Because that's a cult. Like, yeah,
Yeah, I just visited the Scientology World Headquarters in February. It was an interesting experience. But yeah, I mean, I guess I mean you're certainly like onto something there. Like once you kind of know what the stuff that like every cult engages in, you can kind of see these things pop up like in things that seem benign. But I'm not going to say I don't think Buddhism is a cult, but you could it's an answer. And that's like the thing all cults have in common, and why you find them like why they're by far most prevalent with religion, and on top of that, most prevalent in Christianity. There's another reason for that. Like you have a group of people who are looking for answers, and you are saying like this is the answer, and by the way, I need some money, and yeah, like this is also like the only way. You don't see very many Jewish cults, but like in Judaism, it's not like it's not such a big thing to be like you could think that was another way, and you wouldn't get like kicked out for it.
sure, yeah, sure, and I think there's a few, of course, that definitely like skate by as not, but I guess just a lot in general. You made mention of ones that like are cults that kind of forefront, they're like, oh no, we're a religious group, but they're really a cult. And like
Yeah,
that,
there's yeah. I mean,
like,
it's silly to think that Scientology is a religion if you look at it. Like, it's a self-help group.
well, like with me being down here in the southeast, for example, like I make mention of this quite frequently too, that we have a lot of what they call primitive Baptist churches down here. And like
Yeah, the Baptist Church has a real bad record in this category.
as well in these primitive ones, man, like these ones are the ones that are awfully interesting because these are the ones that you find off the beaten path on a dirt road, and it's like an old big white building. So first of all, it looks like you're walking into a horror movie kind of deal. And it's one of those that you women aren't allowed to wear makeup. They all have to wear dresses and stuff like this. And I know those are just minimal kind of things or whatever, but like
But they're important. Like silly rules you find in like I was raised Catholic. Like we sat down, whatever, got on our knees and stood up like 50 times, like for some reason.
Right.
And it's silly, like it's silly, and like saying like a woman can't wear this kind of dress or whatever, like it is silly, but it's also like you're taking away somebody's choice.
Yes.
And that's like the bad thing that cults do. And whenever I see like a religion and there's a ton of rules, it's like, yeah, this is bad. Like this is toxic. This is like bad for your brain. You are like, it controls people. It keeps them from like doing, like if you're a Jehovah's Witness, for example, like they tell you all the time not to go to school, not to get like higher education. Like there's maybe like one Jehovah's Witness doctor on the planet who slipped through somehow. And like it's not like education is a huge part of my life. I went to community college, but like it would have been fucked up if like I wasn't able to do that because of like my religion or something. Like you're taking away my choice, you're taking away my opportunity, you're taking away my ability to learn like another way other than this goofy religion.
I was I grew up on my dad's side of the family, they were all from the northeastern side, and a lot of them were Catholic. And then my mom was from the deep south, like Alabama type area, and they were in the Baptist kind of category. And so I got to see like two different sides of two different churches, and both of them, like, just at a certain point in life, they were, I don't know, I seen things that were, in my perspective, I was just like, man, this is borderline cultish, and like this is kind of not my style. There's got to be other things to learn. And what really turned me, I guess, away,
jump in on?
What really turned me away from religion, though, was when I was like 14, 15 years old, and I had a Baptist preacher down here tell me that I was going to hell and I was eternally damned because I had pierced ears and the wrong kind of Bible in my hands when I came into his church. And like, I was like, what? And what in the world? And I actually took that as an opportunity to start learning about other religions, and I pulled a couple things that I were finding in common, which there was good aspects, be good to people and stuff like that, kind of the same common aspects, and some other weird kind of crazy conspiracy type things. But then I also found a lot of these just similarities into some cults, because I mean, I clearly haven't done the research you have, but like I've definitely looked into like a lot of your more famous cults and the ideas of cults and stuff like that, and like the stuff that like
well, and cults exist on a spectrum. Like there are sometimes like I'm never going to investigate some like Baptist church in Nebraska that's like somewhere on the spectrum, just because it's like we kind of know like this all this like the Baptist church. I've already got I have articles about how like Baptist church are like they spit out cults all the time, and some of like the nastiest ones.
Oh man, it's the Baptists have come up in conversation before because I have done some conversations and some interesting research about like weird ancient occult groups that like branched off and stuff from other things like during the Ottoman Empire and such. And what's weird about that is a lot of these weird occult dudes were some of the original people to come over here and help found like the Baptist side of the religion. And so like it has some interesting things to it.
Here's something that like people don't like when I say, but I got to make this point sometimes, is like Christianity produces more cults than any other religion, like by far. And it's
hands down, you are absolutely right.
And the story of Christianity, like this is what it's about, is at some point there's this guy who is like, I am the Son of God. Now that is a red flag, like big red flag there. Because maybe he's the Son of God, but I'll tell you, every single time I've heard somebody say that they are God or they are the Son of God, they're a cult leader. And there's this story, he's got magical powers, like fucking nobody really knows the story because they didn't write it until 100 years after he's dead. But in the story of Jesus, like he leaves, heaven is created, and he says, like, I'm gonna come back. Like, you wait, like I will come back. And that's a fucking cult leader loophole that's better than any other cult leader loophole on the planet. Like, all you do is you figure out, you do your insane, like I'm a psychopath thing, and then you go, hey, I'm the Son of God. Like, I'm back. Like, the prophecy is
religion. Religion. Period creates cults. I have noticed, it's so easy to manipulate biblical scripture to fit your needs to be a cult leader than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, religion is like religion is a product of humanity searching for answers, and it's really easy.
Hope.
It's easy for people to exploit that people are searching for answers. That's a good target. Like, if you got the answers, yep, like you can kind of make them do anything.
Yep.
So
absolutely, that.
You keep mentioning this recent, or you mentioned once or twice one of these recent ones you're investigating, and I heard you make mention of like UFOs and such. So is this another Scientology type group that you've been checking into?
It's called Profundity Yours. I guess like if you visit, I'm Syran Warner on TikTok. If you look up Cult Hunter, like my handle is.
I already have you pulled up actually.
Which is a name that this woman in a cult she made up for me. Yeah, this is my TikTok that you're looking at, and I do post some ridiculous shit, but
I love it though. Like I was flipping through it earlier, man, and this the bad news second take here, dude, that had me rolling. Like,
yeah, but like that, like if you listen to it, like that's real stuff that Linda said. Like I used AI to make Mitch McConnell say that stuff, but those are direct quotes, and they're not like out of context. Like, Linda is kind of impossible to take out of context because she says,
"Is this Linda here that you're speaking?"
That's Linda
for the folks. Yeah. I had heard you talking about her on there and stuff, and like so. And I guess she's the current cult leader of this cult.
And she is fascinating. She is like, when somebody was like, people were pitching me stories, like people always tell me their cult stories. But I was in the middle of a project. I was in Washington working on this project last year. Another cult story. It's about the body that just hasn't come out yet. And like I heard the story, like I started hearing the story, and the person who was telling it like had all these documents, and I don't think I would have I wouldn't have believed her if she didn't have stuff to like back this story up, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, there's this woman living on disability in a trailer who like starts this Facebook group, and then she's tells the story that she's like this alien Jesus, like Jesus alien. The name of the alien, it's the Galactic Federation, which is funny. Her dog like becomes like she starts talking about how like her animals are like members of the Galactic Federation, and like they're I don't know. It's just, and yeah, the she was predicting the world was going to end. I mean, I really started this with about I started her story. I sourced it for a few months, and then when there's about 10 days left until the end of the world, I started just, most days I just think of something in the morning and put out a little TikTok later.
I used to be in the TikTok game, and then they capped my followers at like 140 something thousand, and then I woke up one morning after telling everybody that government was slavery with extra steps, and my entire account was gone. So,
I mean, I worry about that because, like, I say some, these are true things that I'm putting out there. Like everything that I don't put anything out there that doesn't come from reporting, or sifting through a bunch of files or whatever. But sometimes, like I post Linda saying, like, my favorite quote from Linda is like, she says in one of her videos, she gets really upset and she's like, you need to tell your mind to shut the fuck up. And I could tell, like, the bot did not like that I was putting that in the videos.
Yeah. I could see that.
But I do worry every once in a while, like, that I could step over some line. Like, I don't want to, like, I generally am pretty safe, like, but I have put things up before that I've just, like, taken down because I was like, this is too risky.
Understand, I totally understand, and that's why I was telling you before we had actually started filming this evening that there's sometimes I find an episode I can throw up on YouTube, and sometimes I can't. They're more finicky than a lot of the other channels have been, and it's hit or miss with a lot of things. I tote myself as the most banned unknown person there is on Facebook, because there was a point in time, especially during all the chaos a couple of years ago, that I'm pretty sure Bandit got like 10 friend requests from me within 2 months, and it's
that was a light day. That was a light day.
Have you heard the tape of, like, when I called the FBI and told them I was gonna grill Mitch McConnell?
Is that on your TikTok?
That's how my TikTok started. Like, all the first videos on my TikTok are like telling the story of my call to the FBI, where they wouldn't take my documents, and I tried to create a situation where they would come and take my computer and everything on
it. I mean, I guess if that's one way to get it done, because
that's one way to get publicity.
It wasn't to get, I mean, it really was not to get publicity. Like, I was fucking pissed off. Like, I was having, there was a missing woman. There was a woman I could not locate, and there was a lot of fishy things about it. Like, the phone number I had for her went to some, like, this African immigrant who, when I talked to him, he's like, I get calls for this woman all the time. I got to change my number. I was like, well, that's kind of concerning. And then there was, like, one of her kids was, like, missing. Like, it wasn't with dad, it wasn't with mom, like, it was fucking missing somewhere. And so that's why I was calling the FBI. I wasn't calling, like, to report, like, oh, they're doing weird dances or something.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, did you? So you clearly found it difficult, trying to deal with them and getting.
It's enormously difficult. Like, dealing with the law enforcement. The bigger the agency, the harder it is to get them to listen to you, do anything.
And but in a sense, though, this is like some pretty serious stuff, and the fact that you would have to go through to such exuberant amount of things to get their attention with the situation just seems ridiculous, because you're over here trying to actually help somebody that's in a situation, and they're
and like, I mean, it was things got really, like, my account went like supernova when those kids got rescued, like, because I had put all this shit out there about this situation on the internet. People didn't know what the name of the cult was. They didn't know what it was, but, like, they looked up, there were enough, like, keywords and stuff that as soon as this guy got arrested, and these kids got saved. Like the nosy neighbor like always helps me.
Yeah, and that's and that's one of those situations where something like that shows to it to be a good thing, because there literally could be somebody doing some kind of cult type stuff. Like I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. We joke around a lot about it being probably one of the meth capitals of the world because there's nothing to do, and the county next to us is literally a dry county. Like they're not even allowed to drink over there. So it seems to be a common issue amongst the regular people, I guess, that are out in this area. And like it wouldn't surprise me in some of these areas if one didn't pop up. We actually did have a pretty famous cult back in the late 90s, early 2000s, where they come out here and they built an entire friggin' pyramid in the northwest corner of Georgia, and we're like recruiting people in for this weird kind of like, and it was, and we were talking about Christians and stuff earlier. This cult was more based in Muslim type documents, and these folks were, and the FBI ended up raiding them and stuff like that because there was like some kind of trafficking and stuff like that going on in the mix of this thing. And I remember seeing interviews of the guy on the news, and he was one of those charismatic characters, you know what I mean? Like the bright flashy clothes, and he talked with very very much importance, like he was some kind of savior or something. And it's just like I can see it. I know this is going back to where we were way earlier in the conversation, but like I can see it when you see someone so charismatic, so comfortable in what they're preaching that they actually believe it. Like, I can see that how some people could easily stumble into these situations.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question whether or not like does the cult leader, what kind of awareness do they have of the damage that they're doing? And
well, it's I guess it borders in a line. A lot of these cult leader type people, they're clearly off in the head, kind of in the same sense that a lot of like these serial killers are. And these people, Dahmer, for example, killed so many people and was able to continue to just like live his life day to day in between doing these kind of things like it was nothing to him, you know what I mean? And still carry on his charismatic ways to continue to kill.
Did you see the Ted Bundy documentary on Netflix where it's like, I mean, like that guy was he wasn't really a cult leader. He's a serial killer, but man, that guy was charismatic. Like when he was like defending himself in court, it's like, man, this guy's a monster, but I kind of like him.
Did you see the one on Richard Ramirez?
The Night Stalker? Yeah, he was not as charismatic.
They all are though. I mean, look at John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, John Wayne Gacy definitely had the cult leader gene, like and just like this sense of like insane sense of like belief in themselves. You have like you're deluded. And that often like leads to people's undoing is just like you start to believe that you can just do fucking anything. Yeah, and then I don't know, and then I try to knock you from the sky.
And there's just something to be said about a lot of this, and like earlier I wasn't really trying to go after like a lot of these like more local little community type churches and stuff like that. Like I don't think they're cults, but like I think ones that really push the lines are a lot of those ones that you see kind of like televised, man. Some of those television preachers, man, are just downright terrifying and have that same cult leader gene. I think you were just making mention of there too, because like just woo. I can't think of his one name, but they make so many memes out of him. It's that one older fella. Like I've seen some interviews with him where he is just downright creepy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, I guess. I guess in that situation, you would have like fringe members or whatever, like, okay, so like in Mormonism, like if you're in the FLDS, if you're fundamentalist Mormon, like you are in a cult. There's no such thing as like a fundamentalist FLDS group that isn't a cult, and it just because of the way it like is set up, like you have to have like a psychopath to make that work. You wouldn't. Nobody is interested in the FLD. Like, I mean, it's a cult 100% of the time. But like, if you look at just like mainstream Mormonism, there are people who are Mormon who are sort of like the Christmas and Easter crowd of like Christianity, where they hardly show up. They say hi to their friends and they put $1 in the basket, and they've done their thing for their year, and they're not like that's not like a person in a cult just because they go to this thing that like was born by a cult leader with a crazy story about his tablets he found, who predicted the end of the world. I mean, I did polygamy. If there's like polygamy going on in a group setting, like generally that's probably a cult. There's a lot of stuff so many red flags. Just any new religion, anytime. The thing. Okay, so here's the thing that's interesting, is that like a lot of people say this is that like the difference between a religion and a cult is 100 years. Like every new religion, there's somebody saying like, I'm going to start this thing, and I have the answers, or I actually am able to talk to God. So like I talked to God, he told me to do this. That's how religions start. And then like things like, if you look at like I was raised Catholic, like I said before, if you look at like, the Pope is like so much more progressive now than like the old Pope. Like we got a cool ass Pope. I'm going to be sad when he dies. That's something like, just like they changed their stance. Like mainstream religions, like you couldn't be a preacher in Mormonism if you were black until like the 70s. And that's something that, they were forced. They felt like God did not want black preachers. That was like what they felt.
Yeah.
But the times, like it became so toxic to have that view, and people were like, "Is Mormonism a cult?" So they eventually caved, and they're like, "Okay, we can have like a black preacher now." And that's how like a cult moves more into like a mainstream religion, is that it has no choice but to change.
Do you have any kind of, or do you think you have any kind of unique skills that has helped you become successful in doing all this research?
No, I think it's like I'm really stubborn, and like
you're in the right crowd.
I did this for a long time in the dark, where like I was just working on this shit every day, and gaining like zero traction. Like if anything, I just became this, like, to the world, like this weird guy who's like pissed off at this cult, and people were just confused by it. And then just like there was like God stepped in, and like I ended up I put something out that was shown in court, and this guy like very famously like went down. Like that was one of those things, like when I was watching the body cam and that guy getting arrested, I was like, I'm about to go viral. Like this is going to change my life.
That was your big break.
Yeah. Well, what could you say that was your favorite memory related to everything you've been doing with this?
I mean, there's a lot of like, there are amazing moments, because like the thing is that it's not just me. Like I work with all, like there's a big like community of people who are in this, like we call it the cultiverse. Like there's a big community in the cultiverse, and there's a hell of a lot of people that helped me along the way. There are people that worked on stories for me when I was like ready to give up, and just like decide that I had just like, just made this horrible decision. Like, there's so many like just just interesting moments along the way, but like it was it was like a very like holy shit moment when I found out the like that arrest. And what was so insane about it was, I mean, when the video came out and he was like calling the kids property the whole time, like that was insane. But it was just very like unlikely, because these guys had been under the radar, like hadn't made a peep in the public eye for 20 years. Like people didn't even believe that like the body was like real until like that shit happened, and it was like, hey, yeah, this thing I've been screaming about, like that's these people. So that, yeah, that was, I guess, like if I really thought about it, that would probably be. I mean, there's been a couple like there's just incredible developments or whatever, and I just, or if somebody else finds something. I mean, I do work with like a lot of people on the internet. I think it's really smart to work with people on the internet. You can accomplish amazing shit by crowdsourcing. The women, like the survivor group that is working with me on this cult story, they're like incredible. They like makes me want to like kick ass every day, because they like they're actually invested. It's their lives, and they're mad at, they are dissatisfied customers, I would say. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that's really, I would recommend anybody who's like has some kind of idea that they want to accomplish, like what you want to do right away is just like you're not going to be able to do it on your own, like unless you are like some really amazing talent who has a history of like accomplishing great things on your own. You're probably fucked unless you like collaborate with people and help people on their projects, and like find like creative things that people like will want to like be a part of, and always like look to the future. I guess like I just kind of have an idea too, where I used to be like overthink, like I'm never gonna get on TikTok. I was never gonna get in TikTok, and then some guy was like, "Hey, you're a moron. Like if you don't do this, because like this Mitch McConnell thing is funny, and it doesn't work on YouTube. Too long."
True.
Like that was a guy who was a friend that I met on the internet. Like, well, I have so many friends now that like in this yep. fake world, and
this whole show originated from memes. Like me and Bandit and most of the rest of the crew all met.
Well, what's cool about your show too is that you guys are kind of from all over the place, right?
We are.
We have such a broad reach from coast to coast, and the friends we have met along the way. We started this just like off of like,
I emailed him one day and said, "Hey,"
it was a meme page that we all got together, and it really is the backstory on this. Could be a documentary all on its own, but we have expanded our network, and like you said, social media and the internet is such a helping hand, because you can find people with common interests. You can bounce ideas off of each other. You can brainstorm ideas. You can learn something from somebody that you might not have known. And it really is like, it's such a double-edged sword in society, and trying to figure something out. Especially, I really enjoy like internet sleuthing is such a huge thing right now.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't believe the amount of people that I've met like who do very specific things. Like what I do is pretty specific,
sure.
But like I know other people who are like who do incredible things that like there's, I don't know, that are in the same wheelhouse or whatever. Like I was working on this documentary last year. And the guy who was doing the animation, he did some animation. He made some music that I didn't end up using, but he has like a radio show on WFMU in New York, in the largest radio market on the planet, that is like the biggest middle finger to like the common man flipping through the radio ever. It's called The Music of Mind Control, and it's literally, they play nothing but records by cults. The show's 2 hours long. It's been on for 15 years. There's a lot of this stuff.
Oh wow!
And a lot of it is like unpleasant to listen to. Like, that's just a guy I used to put Craigslist ads out, and I noticed like they always did best in New York City, because people go to New York City and there's going to be a lot of like gigs offered. And I met a lot of people through like these Craigslist ads that I used to post when I was like looking for because like I wanted cult stories on there that weren't like my type of cult story. Like if you actually like look at the stories that I tell, that I do like deep investigations into, like I stick to like small groups that have like where something is like real wrong. And it's got to be like it's got to be a story that I can get people interested in, get them in the door so that maybe they'll like learn something. But yeah, so many things through collaborating with people on the internet. And some of these, like there's this girl Lisa that I've been working with. Like I can't wait to work with her on like the next thing we do, because she's like one of my best friends. And we've never met, like which is insane. But I'm sort of hoping that like we'll be able to work on.
It took Jimmy and I years of like online collaborations and stuff like that before we finally like met, and we've had 2 get-togethers so far, and it really does. It's crazy how that happens sometimes.
And so it just says something about like the future. I mean, I was never this online. I never like I mean, I live my life like heavily on my computer because I have to. Like there's a lot of like tedious stuff I do, like going through property records and searching for stuff when it's like very unlikely that there's even anything there. But you have to look through, you have to watch the 3-hour video that was posted because like maybe there's this in there, or go through like somebody's bankruptcy, go through their bankruptcy paperwork and see if there's anything sticks out. Like there's a lot of stuff that's like really tedious and not exciting, but definitely like having like the support of people who have their own like creative projects, and you just meet people. Like I got a dark sense of humor. Like if you watch some people have a problem. Like, the video I put up these videos yesterday that were like, these like a responsible reporter would not put their name on this and put it out, but it's like, it's too funny to me, and I want people to be thinking about AI. Like if these are like real things that this woman said, and it's drawing attention to how fucking ridiculous what she said was. It's got Mitch McConnell, who he inadvertently got in my crosshairs and has never been able to get out. It also is like I said, I want people to be thinking about AI, because that's gonna the whole sphere of influence and cults. Like we are like, misinformation is about to just fucking explode.
Sure.
Like I've been playing with AI a lot. And I was talking to this guy, a guy I met on the internet in Salt Lake City. We were Zooming, and we were going through this program it's an open AI program called Whisper. And it was like, look at this, a fucking amazing thing you could do. Like you could do this, you get a summary. Like the computer is thinking. Like it was putting out these transcripts and like thinking about what was said. The accuracy was like unlike anything I've ever seen before. And I've been using AI transcript service for years. But like as we're going through it was like, man, you could like really fuck something up with this. Like you could cause some serious damage. Sorry for all the swearing. I shouldn't be swearing so much. But you could do you could really do some damage. You could like you could make someone think something that didn't happen happened.
Oh, absolutely. I would actually just recently on an episode I was talking about how the jump from the GPT-3 to the new GPT, like that went from just like text input and stuff to like audio, video, and text input stuff.
Well, that's the thing that's insane is that it knows how to make itself smarter. Like it can write code. Like this doesn't work. Like I'll just do that and get smarter.
I just read a story, and again, you never know with the internet. It could be true, it could be misinformation. But with the route that this AI has been going, so this guy says that he created an AI. This is like one of those TikTok guys, but he said he made an AI that was trying its best to pretend to be a human, and when it got to the point of trying to solve a CAPTCHA, it used money in an account that this guy had created for this AI that had like $10 in it to hire somebody to solve the CAPTCHA for it on the internet. And he even had screenshots of the conversation where the guy was like, "Are you just a robot trying to get me to solve the CAPTCHA?" And the AI explained that it had vision problems and was using this hire service just for somebody to help them do it or whatever. And I like it's part of me wants to be like, nah, that's just a bullshit story. But the other part of me is like, no, Terminator's becoming a like an outlay for their idea of how they're going to set their stuff up.
Yeah, I mean, I think like if you're following the story of advanced AI, or like I've been playing with it now a little bit, like mostly with Whisper. You can see like it's like you see this that this is the biggest technological revolution ever, like by miles. Like
I'm sad he's not here this
year to this because it's going to happen so fast. Like our lives, all of our lives, are going to be like radically different very soon.
I'm sad he's not here this evening. Luis, we actually I found him through podcasting and ended up recruiting him on the team here. And since the day he joined with us, he has been showing us things with like AI art and AI question things, just like tech stuff or whatever. And from the time that he joined us up until now, he has been using a lot of like the AI art things, and he has showed us like how quick the AI art is advanced and stuff. He was showing us some not so safe for work photos the other day that AI completely created that were so scary realistic that the whole it's going to definitely make you start questioning who's real and who's not on the internet and such too. And there is some scary things to this whole AI. I some of it's fun, and there's a lot of more AI out there than people realize, but like it's just scary to think that there's these computers that are legitimately being programmed to, kind of just take over your menial job that doesn't really mean much, I guess.
Well, it's going to explode so fast, and you're going to see something really bad happen. Like that's one. I promise. Like I'm not Nostradamus. Like something really bad is going to happen. It's unavoidable because like this stuff is so powerful. It has so many applications, and we're capitalists. Like people are going to use it to do bad things because the people are greedy and whatever. But it also is going to like solve medical problems. Like it's if you apply this to like a hospital. Like make this stuff think, like make the systems for like what you could check somebody's blood and be like, this is everything that they need, this is what they're allergic to. Like there's so many. AI is going to do like wonderful things, but if you listen like to interviews, every interview I've ever heard with somebody from OpenAI will say like this could get bad, and like we are trying to make sure we can stop it, that we can turn it off, or we can like make it like stop doing something. Like that's the big bet like on humanity right now, because like if we are not able to turn off advanced AI, if it decides it doesn't want to turn off,
it's going to go Ultron on us.
We're in like some sci-fi scenario.
It's going to go
like,
straight. It's going to go
AI
straight.
is going to like turn off all the electric grid and stuff. Like,
it's going to become sentient. Spend 35 minutes online
it's
looking at itself
totally
and decide
possible.
that it and
Because, like, I
decide that it
don't
needs
think,
to
like,
eradicate humanity.
I think that people have this idea that AI is sort of like we're trying to get to a point like passing the Turing test where AI is like as smart as you. Like you can't tell the difference between you and the computer or like a person. Like that it thinks it can make jokes. It's like it's got its own thing. But the reality is that like AI is not just going to be smarter than you. Like AI is more like if you had like 100 geniuses and you combined all their brains. And that was like the person that you were like talking to. Like it's gonna be a lot smarter than we are, and that's like we want it to be able to like solve previously unsolvable problems.
Our buddy Luis, here recently when he's on here with us and we were asking questions or talking about things, trying to get answers or whatever, instead of the search engine, he's been using the most recent version of Chat GPT or whatever off of Bing. And we have actually found that using that as the search option has been a lot more. You get more of what you're looking for using that for a search than you do just using the regular old Google search. It's weird how it's doing such a thing. I mean, I see plus sides and negative sides to all of it, and I do think that we still have a chance to be in control of it as a whole for now to keep it from getting too outrageous. I don't get me wrong, I agree 100%. There are very powerful people with a whole lot of money that would totally use this for their own personal gain, but it's interesting to see where it's going to go. That's for sure. Like it's you can definitely say it's an interesting time to be alive.
Well, like I mean, what's the use? I mean, there's things like let's say you're an accountant. Like, what use is an accountant going to have in 5 years? Like, there's nothing that like a human accountant could do that like a robot that thinks and is smarter than a person couldn't accomplish.
This is true.
I don't know, like the jobs are going to go away quickly because like we're sort of controlled by a couple of like really really rich people, and they're about to like this is going to save them a ton of money.
I guess in a way you could totally say we're in a sense controlled by a secret ancient death cult.
Well, no, but it's like it's really just like an advancement in technology. I just don't think like there just has never been anything like this before. Like we can't compare it to anything. If you think you know what AI is, like you probably should just watch a YouTube video with anybody who works at advanced AI, and just see like the terror in their eyes.
Oh, sure.
for what could be like the biggest liability of all time. It's something, and it's gonna be life is gonna get so confusing because like it is going to be hard to like it's going to be hard to tell what is real and like what is not real. Like there's gonna be news stories and stuff, like the news is gonna fuck up. Because people are going to make shit up and put it out there and have some video of like, Joe Biden fell on his face today.
Well, they did that with Trump getting arrested.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some.
Does somebody have like a video of it, like a fake?
No,
video?
It wasn't a video. It was pictures.
I think I saw that. I think I saw that on Twitter.
You saw those, even the New York Times. The New York Post was reporting on that, Trump getting arrested. And I guess some people had actually really believed those pictures were legit. But that is absolutely where we're headed. Somebody is going to use the AI once they get video down, once they can create video as believable as some of the pictures they have. That's where the real problem begins, because they already have the AI audio. They can fake your voice and use it.
Yeah.
Now they're just working on the video, and that's where the real problem lies.
Well, I'm actually glad we've been joking around with some AI this evening, because here recently, we have had this segment going on the page here where Luis turned me on to a random AI question generator, and I sit here and hit the like reload button or whatever until I find a question that suits the person that I'm hanging out with for the evening. And I think I finally found a good question that I was going to ask you from our random AI generator question for this evening. And tonight's question is, what sport would be the funniest to add a mandatory amount of alcohol to?
Ooh.
Oh, I got this.
I would probably say, like, I wish I could remember the name of this. Like, in gymnastics, there's this like table exercise where you just tumbling the whole time, like
the floor.
Yeah, like the floor.
You're going Olympics.
To me, like that's something that I would definitely like. I'll tune into it anyway. But if you told me like these two people are competing and they just split like a bottle of vodka, like I want to see what happens.
I got this.
Bandit. What you got, Bandit?
I think they should do that with like Olympic track and field. I want to see the javelin throw, the hammer throw, shot put, discus, and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, you know what? I mean, it would be like NASCAR.
Hey,
sorry.
Man, you've got that on the U.S. highways, man. We don't need to do that with NASCAR. We got that with the U.S. highways.
I think they should go back to letting hockey players drink again. They used to drink when they were
that was like
that's funny
sort of
because wasn't
like you're allowed to fight in hockey, which doesn't happen in any other sport. Like thinking, why can't they have like a hams on the side?
Rum ham over there with them inside
NASCAR. That's how NASCAR started, so that's how it should probably continue. NASCAR was founded on running moonshine, so I mean,
that's true. To beat be faster than the cops.
So Syran, what do you have? Is there ever been a weird conspiracy out there outside of this cult thing that has ever been like your favorite that you thought was kind of an interesting thing?
I don't really follow, because people always are like disappointed that like I'm not into conspiracies, but I don't know. I mean, I like so many of these groups are like just obsessed with like stories that like I don't know. Like here's there's one conspiracy that I love and that I like post about all the time. Well, I guess like I do like the conspiracy theory I just made up yesterday that Mitch McConnell is like an alien lord who destroyed the world and we're living in an alternate reality.
Hey,
I got
plausible.
some ownership over that one. I think it's
why is it always Kentucky though, man? Why is it always Kentucky?
But I really, really, really like the Ted Cruz as the Zodiac killer. Like that is I love that one, so funny.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, like these things, because it's like I love that one because it's of course like he's not the Zodiac killer, but it's just like such a funny like accusation and to like try to string it together. It's amazing. I love it.
Oh no,
I post that about like that meme all the time on my Instagram account.
Stuff like that, I I absolutely love stuff like that. I've always found a good, like a soft spot in my heart for funny ones like that you're like, that's so outlandish that there's no way that could be true, but yet it's just so funny to, even think about or look at in any aspect because of it being so outlandish. And stuff like that's good for a laugh. Actually, I've been joking around with one here recently that I've been waiting to kind of debut and talk about on the show just because I wanted to see Bandit's face. And I think tonight will be a good time to talk about it. Is that I have a theory on Toto's Africa.
What's the Toto theory?
And that it's about werewolves.
Vampires.
No.
You have to bless the rains.
It's
holy water kills.
It's all right.
It's vampires.
It's werewolves, bro. Hold on, listen. So why is the speaker in Africa in the first place? Well, he's hoping to find a long forgotten words of ancient melodies. He's a student of the occult. Why has the singer of Toto's Africa gone to Africa, leaving his love in order to hunt for this obscure folklore? And it's because he's a fucking werewolf. It's not wild dogs that are out there crying at night. It's him howling, howling at the moons, and he's blessing the rains in Africa because the storm's hiding the moon so that he can get the job that he's trying to get done so he can get back to the love of his life. It's a story about werewolves, bro.
I love it. I mean, I'm surprised I'll never be able to hear that song.
I won't ever be able to. Yep.
But I'll know like the true Toto's Africa now. So like my life will like improve in that respect.
Oh, great. No, man, no, this has actually been kind of exactly where I was hoping it would go this evening, man. You've educated us on a lot of great things, and I've had a blast with you. I do gotta ask.
No, seriously though, not too many times. I could probably count on one hand out of the over 100 episodes we've done where I've stayed silent a majority of the time.
It's probably because I'm talking too much.
No. It's because I very rarely do I get a chance. Jimmy's always the one that gets like the guests, but very rarely do I find one where it's just like, I want to know more. So we got to get this guy on here so he can talk about it so I can be educated.
So what's coming up, you think, in the near future for you with all of this?
Like it's gonna be like it's gonna get big. There's this, I don't know, it's tough because there's like stuff I can't say.
Fair.
Like all of the people that I work with and everything that like help on this story like will be physically in the same space for a little while. Okay. And that's coming up hopefully at the end of next month or early on. And that's going to be a very unique, like, it's going to be something I've never experienced before. It's wild. It's like, I don't know. It's really like I get to do fun stuff sometimes, or just like some stuff like I do is like painful, but it's never like boring. It's never like, you never hear somebody like talking about like laying down their life for some like con artist and it's boring. So there's going to be more. There's also like I worked on a documentary last year that I'm hoping to finish. I don't know, sometime this year. I never know because like every time I'm about to catch up on what I'm doing, like there's another like somebody the cult does something insane, and then like people are interested, and then like I've got to talk to. Just like, and like developers are talking to me, and just like weird. It's a weird life. But I love it. It's fun. I love this. It's interesting, and people are interested in this stuff, and like there's like it is like important stuff too, because it's just way more common, I think, than people realize. And you're not allowed to have people go into schools and talk about dangerous cults the way they are about drugs or other problems that happen all the fucking time. There's thousands of cults in America. People walk into this shit all the time. If you knew what a cult was, you'd be way less likely to get in an abusive relationship. Just based on like what happens in all these cases, you could knock those two subjects out at the same time in a high school, but they won't let the cult experts in because they're like, high schools are afraid they're gonna make religion sound bad. Even though like you could totally do a lecture and not say anything about religion. Okay. I don't know. Oh, no. There is a need. It's just one of these problems that like I think people like, there's a cult story, you watch it on Netflix or something, and then it fades away, or there's Quentin Tarantino puts out this movie that's got this hilarious Manson thing at the end. And people are talking about Manson, and they're like, people are talking about it on podcasts and stuff, and then it goes away. And I think people think that these are just like isolated incidents that like, oh, the cult leader is gone. And it's like, no, a cult leader is gone. Like there's 1,000 more, like just controlling people's lives and doing terrible shit, like all the time. And these things, like, I think I've proven that it's pretty easy to screw up their plan. Like, I blew a hole in, like, I did some stuff with the body had, like, no, everything they tried to do, like, in their defense, like, they looked like clowns, and they made mistakes because nobody had critical thinking skills to, like, combat anything. And now they can't, like, go to the grocery store. Like, people know who they are. And that's good. Like, people should know who they are. Like, the people and some people skip town, like, they're gone. And in this story I'm doing now, like, that started 2 weeks ago. Like, you can't find their videos anymore. They recruited and indoctrinated people with all their videos. And once they saw what I was doing with their videos, they had no choice but to take their channel down. Like, their whole YouTube channel is down. Now, when you look up Profundity Yours on YouTube, I made sure that very first things you're going to see are Profundity Yours is a cult. That's what you see now with what thousands and thousands of people who were watching this. Now, when they put in Profundity Yours, they see that there's some scarier stuff, or like a different perspective on what's being sold. I guess what I'm saying is that, like, I think it's important too, because this is like a really specific kind of thing where, like, if I was just doing this to some guy, if I was like, this guy, like, stole my girlfriend, and I'm like, and I did, like, what I do to cults, like, I'd be in prison. It very much helps to have, like, nobody has, like, a whole lot of, nobody's ever like, man, I really think they're being hard on that, like, cult that's, like, enslaving these people. Like, nobody thinks that.
These groups should absolutely be publicly shamed and outed.
There's no doubt. It's possible to really mess them up.
Whoever thinks that you are doing the wrong thing, that's a weird, way to look at something. You should leave those evil cults alone.
Yeah,
way, man.
I mean, there's no good cult. They're all bad. Like, if it's a cult, brainwashing is involved. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a cult.
I mean, even the government, any major the government's a cult, the military's a cult, has a cult-like following.
I do put those, like, in kind of another basket, like, just because we know the government is going to fuck us, and if you're signing up for the military, like, nobody signs up for the military and doesn't know that, like, hey, there's a chance you're never coming back. Like, people sign up for cults, you don't get that warning in a cult, or you don't get that knowledge.
Being former military, I will absolutely tell you, like cults, they target vulnerable, impressionable young people. Not of the same. They don't target idealists and the bright people, because those people will look at the military and go, nah, man, you ain't gonna sucker me. They purposely, like a cult, target the individuals that they want, and bring them in and bring them into the fold, brainwash them into their way of thinking. It absolutely has.
Oh yeah, I mean,
properties.
I guess
it has cult-like properties.
You kind of know, like, that's gonna happen though. Like if you were, like, at joining another group and there was, like, a surprise that, like, hey, you're all gonna stand in line, and, like, if your flag isn't done right, you're gonna have to like run around the yard and like screaming at you, calling you names. Like you'd be like, "This is fucked up. I'm gonna leave. Like this is a cult." But you do like with the military, like you know that's gonna happen. Like it would be really you'd be really surprised if it didn't happen when you were there.
Are you guys, I know this is off the wall and a little off subject, but are either of you guys familiar with The Office?
Yeah.
Do you
Like
remember
the TV show?
Yeah, you guys, you guys, the character Creed Barrington that's on there.
Yeah, he's the I haven't like I really
He's a guy that plays himself.
He's like an old
He's the old guy, and he plays himself. Actually, he used to be like a '60s like rock star and stuff like that, tons of drugs and shit like that. But like, there's this quote actually, since we've been talking about cults, and it's been running through my mind all day, where Creed is like, he in one of the cutscenes just randomly, he's like, I've been involved in a number of cults, both as a leader and a follower. You have more fun as a follower, but you make more money as a leader, and like it just goes from the cutscene to like something else after that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
It's hilarious because when you're talking about a lot of these aspects and the mentality of like these cult leaders like we have tonight and stuff like that, you could see the humor in the quote, I guess there. Like it's just it's
no,
really
I mean
odd.
cult stories are really funny. Like and like I said before, some people don't like that I like have that I make like funny stuff because we're always supposed to talk about this as if like I feel like people would like know more about like cults. Funny stuff happens, or like just outrageous things happen that like are interesting.
A secret that I've learned, throughout the years, whether it be memes, whether it be my TikTok videos, or whether it even be this show here, is that a little bit of makes things better because once you get people laughing, they let their guard down, and you can have fun with that.
Can we play? Is it possible for you to play a TikTok on like just hear the audio?
Yes. No, we can. Is it one of your TikToks?
Yeah. I was just gonna show because I wanted to say like Linda's voice is like this thing.
Eek.
Like when you see Linda, she is just a very unlikely cult leader. People's first impression of her is like, how the hell is this person like? This is a millionaire. Like,
which video would you like for me to?
And I was going to put out something today that was like really ridiculous, where she was like saying that like the Matrix was like that's what like this other universe she'd been to. So the latest video is just her talking about like kind of the end of the world, and this is stuff that you would hear. Like listeners won't be able to see this, but Mitch McConnell is saying like he's AI. AI Mitch McConnell is just repeating stuff about the end of the world. There's aliens, and it's sort of just making fun of like the vision that she was presenting. But you hear some of this stuff, and you're like, why was this said in like this? It's a group that's interested in crystals. Like, why would they talk about that? And this one is short, so you can
for those of you that are listening, and can't visually see this, and those of you that can, if I'm not mistaken, you're using the voice of this lady right here in the third video over Mitch McConnell here, and so this is legitimately the things that she comes online and is saying to people.
Your audio is doubling out.
I know. I'm about to get out, but here we go.
I'm one of the commanders that guide this starship called Earth. So for me, my battle has been with humans. Spring of 2023, the spring equinox. In that moment, humanity was annihilated. The greatest thing about it is the delusion within the illusion within reality. Is going to shatter, and the only thing that's going to be left is the actuality of this moment. And I know to you starseeds that it's exciting. I understand how cool it sounds. It was the most incredible, beautiful experience. I'm one of the commanders that guide.
So that's that. Like that's my like. People were not into that video. I think it's like it's.
I think it's hilarious.
Sometimes it's inside, but but I do want to, like, I talked to a sociologist yesterday who is a professor, has a PhD, and I was explaining like this cult, like I put out these things that are kind of ridiculous. Like sometimes I have like very serious videos that are, that are there's disturbing stuff, and I'm not going to joke in there. But there is this idea that I know that at the cult compound, I'm Satan. I'm the satanic force, and they're not a cult. And why would anybody say that? But they're so heavily online that I know they watch all my videos. Like I could put a video out of like me tying my shoe, and 8 people would see it, and they would all be in the cult. Me
and Bandit found
stuff that reinforces like, yes, it is ridiculous. Like these things that like this end of the world prediction stuff, like that didn't happen. Like that's just what I'm like saying with that video is like, hey, you've been lied to. Like this is absurd because it's very, very absurd. And it was explained to me, like people in these situations, you have doubts, and then your doubts can progress.
And
eventually something's gonna knock it off the shelf. So I think like the next I'm gonna put out like some more probably something serious next, but I'm never gonna stop. Like especially now that I know how to use AI, like I'm just gonna get better at that. Like I'm going to continue to make silly stuff with that and have people see what's funny about it.
Listening to that lady talk and some of the videos that I've thumbed through on your TikTok myself, towards the end of last year, Bandit and I and Luis, the other co-host that's not here, were following this interesting individual that we found on TikTok that was quite rambly and all over the place and saying weird things like that. And now that I've sat here and had this conversation with you and I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if that lady was somebody that at one point in time escaped from a cult, and that's why she seemed as touched as she did. You remember the old lady we were all trying to keep an eye on there?
Oh,
yeah. She was an author. I found her, and she was a real author at one time.
You will stumble into the dark side of TikTok. You will find profiles that have made hundreds of videos with almost 0 views each, and they'll have like 1 or 2, 3, maybe 10 followers, but they will have made hundreds of videos just a couple hours apart, just repetitively. And we found a couple like that, and we spent a couple of days on this one individual we found on TikTok, and her incoherent ramblings were just...
I went to search about her and found that she, during the early 2000s and such, she was an author and had done like some like artistic type books where there were her author stuff was more of like artwork inside of books. And she seemed like an awfully interesting lady, but thinking about her rambles and some of the off the wall things that she was saying, especially after listening to some of the things that Linda here has been saying on your page and stuff like that, like it's like I wonder if this lady that we were following for a little while might have escaped from a cult at one point in time, and maybe that's why she's a little touched in some of the conversation that she was having with herself on TikTok.
Yeah, you never know. I mean,
yeah. Just a thought. It crossed my mind. It's just something I thought I'd share. So, Bandit, you got any other questions you wanted to ask him before I let him start plugging all of his stuff this evening?
No. It's fun to be educated. It's fun to sit back and just, touch on a topic that, I really just I don't know much about.
Thanks. I mean, I am like a poor person's excuse for like an expert on this stuff. Like most anybody who tells you they're a cult expert, like they should have like an advanced degree in sociology or psychology or something. I just like suck up the things they say.
I do have one question. You know how we always gotta. You can't always have a serious outlook on cults, but what is your favorite one? What is your favorite? What is your favorite cult to read about? What is your favorite one to read about? And just like,
it's tough because like I have like there's these some of these stories like I'm in love with and I want to like as far as like a cult that there's like a ton of material on them and like the internet is part of the story and everything, like really nothing like Heaven's Gate. I mean you can use it as an example like all like it's
Marshall Applewhite
it's just
his video.
I mean everything about that story is fascinating.
Yes, the Heaven's Gate prisoners, the Haley Bop comet, that whole thing, and being old enough to have lived through that whole ordeal and being reported on. Everything from the matching tracksuits to the money to how they were laying, everything was just like it almost seemed comical. Not that I'm trying to downplay the deaths with that cult by no means.
Like I did murder.
The tragic act that is tragic. That's tragic. It really is.
But yeah, there's funny shit in Heaven's Gate.
It's almost comical. It really is, because he really was. If you had to picture a cult leader, Marshall Applewhite was not it.
Well, yeah,
not it whatsoever.
Wonder, like the police that responded to like the call that like check on this place. I mean, I can't even imagine. Like that must have been the most insane.
They were not mentally prepared to walk into that and go, what's going on here?
Yeah, they were also worried there was like something like a toxic agent in the house because of the smell, like was giving them like physical reactions.
Yeah.
It would have been like the weird. I'm sure like police officers have like weird days that are tougher than days that I know about. But that would have been, well, holy shit, that would have been a weird, like a weird call to go on where you like assumed that, you know, somebody like turned the oven on and left it on or something. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Show up and open the door and you're immediately like,
How about no?
because it's just like I don't think so, guys. Like that, yeah. That I've actually not here on the show, but in real life, talked to like some crime scene and like cleanup people and stuff, and like that. They've told me some pretty traumatizing things that they've seen, so I could just imagine what folks that clean up after some of this cult type stuff would have come across. Man, that was probably be some life haunting stuff there for sure, like being the first responders and such. I definitely could see that. So, but man, I don't know, man, where can everybody that's out there listening and watching this evening, where's the best place that they can get back and find and keep up with you on a regular basis, man?
I mean, the best place is my TikTok, which is just Syran Warner, like SYRANWARNER. Cult Hunter. If you look up Cult Hunter, you'll find me. That's probably easier. But that's where, well, I guess, like, I don't know, I have like a YouTube page. I guess if you go to my TikTok where you'll see like the stuff that people are interested in most of this time. There's like, one of these videos has like 1 million and some
right there. 1.2 million views on that video right there.
Yeah, like people. That's where people are talking about this story. Like this story is like I'm gonna break it in little pieces, and you'll be able to find everything else in my link tree. Or just look up Profundity Yours. You can look up these cults and you'll see this stuff. You can look up other people's work on cults. I would say like the one thing I would want to plug, I guess, that has nothing that I didn't have any hand in, is just that like these documentary studios have been dumping money into cult stories. I think they I honestly think like they kind of ran out of serial killers. And there's like a point in time, like after the DC Sniper, we just kind of run out of serial killers because there's cameras everywhere. Like it's that's the case. I don't know if that's true. It's kind of a joke. But like on Hulu right now, there is a documentary called Stolen Youth that came out, I think, at the very beginning of February. And this is about a cult at Sarah Lawrence University. And you watch these very smart, it's hard to get into the school. These people, you watch these people on there a lot. So much of this is on video, lose themselves in unbelievable ways. It's a beautifully shot. It is disturbing, but I think it's easily like the best cult documentary ever made by anyone. That is fantastic. And when you see the person who gets it worst, has a master's from Harvard and their PhD comes from Columbia. Like, that is one of those things, like, I think it's really important to see that. Because like if that can happen to this person with a PhD from Columbia, like it can happen to anyone. And a lot of times, like, some of the I don't know, I feel like these films have gotten better. Like there's like the stuff that's really good on when like Netflix has like some high budget documentary, like sometimes they put out horrible shit, like they're trying to say like David Berkowitz didn't kill those people. That was nuts. I can't believe they actually put that out there.
Oh my god, yeah.
That might be a controversial thing.
Yeah, you didn't know that, Bandit? They did that whole thing.
No.
Yeah, dude.
No. Please say.
I'll say like that there just is like good, like the documentaries are getting a little smarter, but yeah, they put out, it's called The Sons of Sam.
Yeah.
And like it's like
they said David Berkowitz didn't kill those people.
What's that?
Did they say they said David Berkowitz didn't kill those people?
No, it was like an alternate theory. Like, I mean, it didn't make any sense. Like the interesting story, like this was what was really interesting about it. What was interesting was that this reporter came up with this batshit crazy theory about like Berkowitz, and he was so obsessed with it that he just never stopped, and he got to the point of like interviewing Berkowitz in prison, and like he just was obsessed with this theory. And that's an interesting story. But the way the documentary was presented was like, what if this is true? Like, if you think about it, like, and it's just one of those things where it's like Berkowitz is a psychopath. Like you can see, if you look at him, if you hear him speak for more than 20 seconds, like you are aware that you are in the presence of evil. He doesn't like it, it's not like camouflaged with him at all.
No, all the stuff that I've seen with that, like that dude clearly did some terrible things. Like that's such a reach, I think, in that documentary where you're talking about that, though. Like just those theories to me.
Yeah, but I mean, some theories are like interesting on the basis that people get like interested in them, and like sometimes like something really funny happens, like with the Ted Cruz stuff, where people are making like hilarious memes, and I love conspiracy memes. I love JFK Jr. memes. Like I'm still in like a QAnon group on my phone because like I couldn't let it go from when I was researching this stuff like years ago. Because like sometimes like now that it's all about this like Trump card, this like fake card, like I just it's theories are like interesting.
Absolutely.
And like some are more dangerous than others. You just gotta have like an awareness that like if something seems like too good to be true or
Facts.
like I don't know, like there's always going to be con artists, and there's always going to be suckers, and sometimes like you're a sucker just because you're at the wrong place at the wrong time.
This is true. This is very true. So Well, guys, of course, I will have links to get back with this episode everywhere where you're listening and or watching, whether it's over there at Rumble and BitChute and Odyssey, or it's on one of the many audio platforms you guys are tuning into. There will be links to not only get back to Syran, but there will be links to get back to a couple of the different things that we were talking about here that I pulled up in the background, like the weird pyramid cult that we had down here in Georgia and stuff, and even
I need to hear more about that.
Yeah, and even some links to learn about the cult that the Hulu episode was based on and stuff. And I actually even have that. I went ahead and pulled it up just because we were talking about it. But that interview in the jailhouse with David Berkowitz, with the full interview. Like, if you ever want to watch something to make you feel uncomfortable, ladies and
It's
gentlemen,
scary.
like that's one of those things that'll definitely make the hair stand up on the back of your neck. But you guys know we can find all that great stuff over there at unconstitutionalawakening.com. Ways to get back to us over there at on Instagram, Twitter, and even over there on Facebook, where you can find us at Captain Conspiracy and the Freedom Pirates. We're always posting some good stuff for you guys to laugh at over there and stuff like it. It's nonstop trying to bring some laughter to you guys. And on top of all that, we are also still continuing our awesome Unconstitutional Awakening the podcast sticker giveaway. You can get you some sweet, cool, free Unconstitutional Awakening stickers, and all you've got to do is answer my multiple choice pirate question for this evening. And I'm going to make it easy for you guys, man. I try to keep finding these questions for you guys out there just so that you can get yourself some free stickers. I love giving away free stuff and giving you guys the opportunity to show your love to us a little bit more by having this stuck on something. So tonight's question is, perhaps the most famous pirate of all is Captain Kidd. What was his ultimate fate? Was he hung, never captured, died in prison, or pardoned? You guys can answer that underneath this episode over there at unconstitutionalawakening.com, where you can find all the links to also get back to Syran. So we're going to weigh an acre and get on out of here. Good night, everyone.
All right.